Good afternoon and welcome to Birdland Media Works. I'm your host, Danielle Pailly, and today I'm joined by Lisa Hickey and Armando Ubeda. Lisa Hickey is an urban horticulture extension agent in Manatee County, and Armando Ubeda is a Florida Sea Grant agent, and both are instructors for the Florida Master Naturalist Program through the University of Florida. Today's topic is understanding our natural world, the importance of restoration and conservation in Florida. Lisa and Armando, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Now, I had the great fortune of being taught by both of you in the Florida Master Naturalist Program. I'm really excited about the work you're doing. To begin, could you each share a little bit more about you and your work? Lisa, we'll start with you.
Okay, so I'm the Urban Horticulture Extension Agent in Manatee County, and I have three areas of three major programs that I work with. I certify residents and visitors in the Master Gardener Program and in the Florida Master Naturalist Program. And then I supervise our Florida-friendly landscaping program. And this program basically tries to get people to reduce their Florida landscape carbon footprint. We have a team of 3 and about 120 volunteers that help with these programs. And we do as much outreach into our community as possible.
Armando?
I'm the Sea Grant agent for Sarasota County, and as a Sea Grant, what we do is support research, education, and extension to conserve coastal resources and enhance economic opportunities for the people of Florida. And basically what my program does is educates in marine issues, coastal and marine environments, also work with the fisheries, work with the industries, basically try to bring all the information that the university produces to the communities and to enhance our coastal and marine environments.
And I love all the programming. Every time I see what you've offered, I just want to take it all. So I think it's a really great, the education and the work that you're doing. Now, I admittedly came into the Florida Master Naturalist Program with a very limited understanding of Florida wildlife, habitats, and the delicate balance of the Florida ecosystem. Can you tell us more about the purpose of the Florida Master Naturalist Program and why it's so important?
I'll try to answer that question for you, Danielle. The mission of the program is actually to provide awareness and understanding of Florida's natural environment, how and why plant communities are where they are, why are certain animals within that community. We also talk about the impact of invasive species in the plant community and in the animal world. And then we tie in at the end some of the positive and the negative impacts that people have on these plant communities and animals.
And we'll talk more about that as we go forward. Armando, did you want to add to that?
I just want to say that it's a great opportunity for us to have this program in Florida. Not a lot of states have a program like this. It's very well structured, and it really teaches people about the natural history in Florida. And it welcomes everybody who really wants to learn about our natural environment.
So who would benefit most from this program?
Actually, everybody benefits, but let me break it down into our visitors, I think, benefit the most. And that's because they are completely unaware of how Florida is so different than the rest of the continental USA. So coming in and taking the Florida Master Naturalist Program really helps them to understand some of our ecology, our plants, our animals, and why we really don't want invasive species within those communities. And then you have the resident who wants to improve their current knowledge of the natural systems, and so it's a good program for them if they don't have any current knowledge, or if they want to improve upon whatever their current knowledge is. And the last is always the employees that work within a natural system. So your park rangers at any level, it helps to increase their current knowledge because they have a lot of knowledge of the plant communities and the animals, but it takes them to a different level and increases their ability to work in their job.
Yes, I was going to add to that it's a great opportunity as well for the marine industry, all the tourist industry in this area, because it really enhances the knowledge and the service they can, provide to the people visiting here. So it's actually a really good program, not just for the visitors, but also for the people who actually serve those people as well.
And having taken the program, coming from no foundation, I'm the resident who basically would go for a walk in the park and ask my husband, what's that? What kind of tree is that? What kind of that? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know either, and this is terrible. So I thank you for your education and providing this opportunity. What are some of the major concerns that you have about the state of our current environment?
Yes. One of the concerns that we have is habitat degradation, basically fragmentation, especially with all the development that's happening, well, through the nation, but especially in Florida, with development is increasing very rapidly. We need to be aware of our natural environments and what is out there so we can, do this in a sustainable way. So that's one of the concerns that we have. People not understanding their natural world and then making changes without knowing the impacts of these changes.
I'd like to add to that because to me, I took this on more of a personal level is your question. And personally, I feel water quality is one of the leading environmental concern. Throughout the year, I visit many different springs, and then over like a 10-year period, I repeat some of those springs. And I just noticed myself in some of the impacts that the more common springs have with the visitors coming in. And there's been a huge cutback in funding for educational programs in some of these natural areas. And I think that that's playing a toll on some of these different communities.
Can you talk a little bit about what impact visitors are having? Like, what are they doing that's causing the problem?
So some of the things is overpopulation of the spring. So springs can only handle a certain volume of people coming across the landscape. And when there is a major weekend, let's say Memorial Day weekend, where does everybody want to go? They want to go somewhere where it's relaxing, refreshing, and springs have that to offer. So you get a very large volume of people come in that potential habitat can't handle. And so then you might see tramping of vegetation. You may see handling of wildlife because there's so much more people in the communities. Jumping off the sides of the banks, sliding down the banks of the spring. So you're causing maybe erosion in the future, but these people don't tend to know this because they aren't familiar with the habitat to begin with.
Okay. So what can we do as far as on based on that question to inform people? Obviously, we're not going to stop people from coming on vacation, but what can they do to be a little more conscious?
Well, that's the beauty of this program as well. If you are a resident and you've taken this course, you understand now, how delicate the systems can be and how fragile it can be and how important. And so basically you learn how to enjoy them without damaging them. And you as an ambassador, if you're taking this course, you can talk to people coming here. And that's why we like to people from the industry that are actually serving those people that visit those areas as well, so they can instruct those people. And it's a matter of just letting them know, because a lot of people just don't do things because they want to harm, this because they don't know what is out there, basically.
So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. So if I'm walking on the beach and I see a little girl walking with her grandfather and she's got like a bag of bread and she's tossing it up in the air and all the seagulls are following her, and I know that's a bad thing, how would you handle like a situation like that? Because that happens a lot. Yes,
it does happen a lot. And it's hard to approach people and just tell them not to do something. Well, I think one of the best ways to do this is use that as an opportunity to teach them. So one of the things that I personally do is that I approach people, I start telling them about the birds that are actually interested in. Might be a negative interest because they're feeding them, but start telling them about those birds. Maybe they're migratory birds. Maybe you only find them here a certain month of the year. So by them knowing about the birds and I tell them what harm they're doing by feeding them, they think maybe doing something good. But in fact, you shouldn't be feeding wildlife. So I think it depends how you approach people and how you explain them and why. And they go same things for pollution. Pollution is a big problem that we have here. You see all the cigarette butts at the beach, you see all this plastic. So when I see people maybe not being very careful with their stuff or throwing garbage, I approach them a different way. Instead of telling them, no, don't do that, I say, hey, do you like fishing? And I start explaining how plastic can harm fishing, etc. So there's ways that you can educate people without threatening them. And that way, they'll learn in a good way.
Right. Now, can you tell us why is it bad to feed the birds?
They have a specific diet that is what makes them what they are. And if you turn around and you alter that diet, just like yourself, they're a living animal. And let's say you altered your diet and all of a sudden someone says you're a carnivore, you eat meat, and they say, sorry, that's bad for you. And they start making you go on like a vegetarian diet. Your diet is so altered that your body responds to it. Same way with the birds is whatever their natural diet is, you start feeding them bread. Nutritionally, you're altering their diet, and you're also teaching them to be dependent on humans. And when animals start to become dependent on humans, feeding is a learned behavior. So now they're going to be teaching their young, hey, you go to the beach, they feed this food that is easily accessible, versus now they have to go out and really find and dig for that food. So you're really altering not only their diet, but you're altering their lifestyle and how they are in the natural environment.
And you mentioned fishing. Is there something, Armando, that people can be doing if they like to fish to make sure they're not leaving a footprint or leaving pollution behind?
There's a lot of things that people can do, especially for like fishing. Like Lisa was saying, water quality is one. In order to have sustainable fishing habitats, we need good quality of water. Also, same thing for habitats. So from the basic, sustainable fishing has to do with the type of gear you use, the type of practice you do, but also how you take care of the environment where fish are. Just to give you an example, we have mangroves. We're very lucky in Florida. We have mangroves forests. We have seagrass beds. We have many estuaries, which are nurseries for many, many, many different fish that we use commercially and recreational. For example, red drum, when they're tiny juveniles, they use the tidal creeks, same thing for snook, and then they go into deeper waters. So if you care for fishing, if you care for the big red drum or the big snook, you have to take care of the tidal creeks. You have to take care of you live in shorelines. You take care of all the shallow areas. So it's all connected. So that's why this program is so valuable, because it teaches people not only, one part of a system, but all the system that we have in Florida, and all things are connected to them.
Now, I hear different opinions about what's happening with our environment, not just in Florida, but on a global scale. Some will say that humans are negatively impacting our world, while others argue that nature goes through cycles and there's nothing to worry about. Based on your research, experience, and observation, how much of what we're seeing, such as coastal erosion, climate change, saltwater intrusion, are the natural course of things, and how much of it is because of human interference?
I'll start with that one, Danielle. First of all, I think we have to understand that the natural course is actually on a geological scale. So you're looking at 100,000 to 1,000,000 years. So it's difficult in our lifetime to see what that impact is. So you really have to turn around and say, I'm looking at your question more like, so are humans actually impacting that natural course of action? And the answer is yes. The scientific data is there that says yes. And this can become a very political topic, but what I can encourage listeners to do is the Florida Extension offices, there's 67 of them, go connect with your extension office and find out what kind of programming that they're doing. Many of us are doing climate change programs, and find out what that data is.
I would like to say that, definitely humans play a big role into what's happening to our natural environment. But we're part of that environment, and that's what we need to, this program does. It brings us back into, we're part of this environment. We're just not, an outsider. So we have a responsibility as well.
So let's talk about some possible solutions. What are some simple things that people can begin implementing today to reduce their ecological footprint?
One of the first things that people should do is to educate themselves. If you don't know what is out there, if you don't know where you live in, then you need to understand your natural systems. So that way you know what positive impacts or negative impacts. That's number one. Then educate yourself, be informed, use resources like Lisa was saying. We have the extension offices that can teach people from, how much fertilizer you should use, when you should use it, what kind of plants you should have to increase wildlife, even in the urban environments. So just basically educate yourself, be part of the solution, talk to the extension office, talk to your agents, and enjoy your natural world.
Yes, we always talk Florida-friendly landscaping, and that is something that I probably could talk hours on. But one of the things is talking about how we reduce our carbon footprint, recycling. I'll go back to some of those environmental concerns that you were talking about. One of them that I have also is water conservation. How many times have you seen at an event or at a meeting, somebody gets bottled water and they leave half the bottled water? Like there's no value to that water. So the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program really goes through some of the values of water, how to conserve water, if we're irrigating our landscapes with potable water, some of the changes that we can make. We have local programs that can teach you how to help conserve water. So really looking at some of the things, like Armando said, on a personal basis And how can you change some of those things to make an impact?
And I'm glad you mentioned the recycle, Lisa, in the water bottle. That's a great example. One of the things I do a lot of educational programs with children, and one of the things, and adults as well, but one of the things that we go over is marine debris, which is pollution. And we use the 3 R's, which is recycle, reduce, and reuse. So basically, reuse more products, reduce the amount of things that you have to throw, discard, one-time use, like plastic straw, plastic bottles, etc. And then recycle all the time. So that ways that we can reuse these materials.
So, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. So a simple solution if you're carrying a reusable water bottle, like a metal bottle. But if you do buy a bottle of water and you drink half of it, can water a plant and recycle the bottle? Is that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a really good one. Or take the bottle and turn it upside down on an indoor planter and let it slowly drip down into that indoor plant and water it that way instead of just dumping it out into the landscape.
Oh, good idea.
How about some large scale? Can I talk large scale with you?
Absolutely. I'd love it.
So I got to talking to my husband about some of those large scale things because, in the vehicle industry, we pretty much have it down. The cars that they're doing now, the hybrid trucks and cars that they have, we're there, or we're getting there. The industry is really fine tuning it. But I think we've got to up that ante. How about a construction equipment that is more of a hybrid version? Now, what would that look like? Mm-hmm. Or how about trains, planes, cargo boats? Those are very large consumers of some of those fossil fuels, but yet we're not quite there as far as trying to make them more of a green machine. Mm-hmm. One more thought, too, is even green buildings. We have a lot of green buildings, but we don't have enough to really make a difference. How many old buildings have old air conditioning systems? So I think that there should be some kind of incentive for businesses to really green up their building. Instead of putting up a brand new building, let's figure out how to green up an existing building.
Okay. So now me as a citizen, how would I say to the government, I want that to happen?
So once you know and you're educated and you know about your natural environment, you know what decisions can affect the place you live. So as a citizens, if you want to influence this process, well, go to your meetings, go to the commissioners' meetings, go to the hearings when there's public hearings about land changes in land use. So then you have a voice. But if you're not informed, then just going to these meetings without knowing, then it's not going to help you. So get informed, be educated, and then you can affect the process as well.
Right. Informed citizens is really, really impactful. Also, most of us are voters. And when it becomes the voting year, letters to that legislator and in volume make a voice.
And also, I want to add that you can do things yourself as an individual, as a community, like HOAs, for example. We have programs for HOAs to help them make their communities more sustainable, not only for, more energy efficient, but also coastal native plants, water quality, so all that relates back to their neighborhood. So you don't have to wait for big decisions to happen. You can start making changes at the local level, from your household to your communities and so on.
Actually, there's a UF professor who's really good at doing that. His name's Mark Hostetler, mm-hmm. and he works for wildlife and ecology conservation. And he really teaches and works with developers and different people to really try to keep biodiversity conservation in their plan as they're making a brand new community.
Now this year, the Florida Master Naturalist Program is launching a coastal restoration series. Why this course and why now?
This course is very important. Why now? Because we've seen that most people, this is everywhere in the world, most people live along the coastline. Florida has the longest coastline of any state in the U.S., linear coastline. So there's a lot of people concentrated on the coastlines, and a lot of our natural resources that we depend on are related to the coastal environments, marine coastal environment. So we still have a great opportunity to teach people not only about natural history in general, but also, our coastline basically, which is very important. So how you can play a role to maintain it, even to conserve it or enhance it. So we're trying to teach this course to people that have some interest in preserving those living shorelines, which are critical for fisheries, for water quality, and how every individual can make a change. If you live in a house attached to a creek or to the shore, you can enhance your property to make it more sustainable, to keep your living shorelines, to keep all those ecological services in place. So we thought this is a great opportunity to do it now So people are, again, as I said before, well-informed and educated. So they help us keep this place sustainable and clean.
And people always like facts. So here's a great fact for you. And if you don't believe it, go on to Google and ask, what is the population of Florida going to look like in 20 years? It's scary and it's astounding. So with that increase in population, we really do have to figure out what to do. So in comment to Armando on living on the coast, greater than 80% of Florida's population lives within 10 miles of the coastline. And Living Shorelines tries to teach us alternatives instead of putting seawalls up that aren't living. How can we use plants in that area or oyster beds in the water area to really keep some sustainability to our coastline? And when developers come in, working with those developers to establish those living shorelines instead of building a seawall.
And I just want to add to that. Thank you, Lisa, for mentioning those examples. Those are great examples. And one thing that we looked in this courses too is the economic benefits of these living shorelines. Not only they provide services, ecological services and habitat for a lot of wildlife, but also they're better than some of the man-made structures that we use for storm erosion. Living shorelines can prevent erosion. They're better to harm our coastline from storms, big hurricanes as well. So there's a lot of benefits that we look into it. And then, again, people know these things. They open their minds basically, and they're more receptive to make positive changes into the environment.
Now, speaking of shorelines, Armando, you have an event coming up just in time for Earth Day. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we actually celebrate it. Well, every year we try to do something around Earth Day, but this year we're going to do a coastal cleanup at Siesta Key Beach. So it's an Earth Day celebration. We're going to do a coastal cleanup. I'm going to be talking about marine debris, which is a big issue. And then we're going to have a bunch of volunteers helping us clean up Siesta Key. And yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be on April 22nd from 8:30 to 12:30.
There are many different courses with the Florida Master Naturalist Program. Can you break down what you offer?
Yes, we're going to do that. Armando will cover the special topics, and I will talk about the core topics. The core topics, there are 3 of them. The uplands, that's the high and dry areas. The freshwater wetlands, which is the low and wet areas, and then the coastal habitats. And each one of the core topics are 40 hours long. There are some project work and interpretive talks that go with them. And once you complete the core topics, you do become a certified Florida Master Naturalist.
And we also have the special topics, which are a little shorter courses. And there are 5 of those. You have the environmental interpretation one, you have the conservation science, you have wildlife monitoring, you have the habitat evaluation, and the coastal shoreline restoration.
And any one of these topics helps you as a resident, as a visitor, or as an employee who's working within these natural systems.
Okay. And you can take them in any order. So, and as I understand it, there are certifications that go along with it if you complete the entire coursework.
Correct. Each module that you take and each special topic does have a certification. So if you want to become a docent in just a very specific habitat, you might just want to focus on that particular type of habitat.
Where can people go to learn more about enrolling in the Florida Master Naturalist Program?
They can check with their local county extension office, or you can go into Google and type in www.masternaturalist.ifas.ufl.edu. And there, if you click on the tab that says Current Course Offerings, it will give you all the different programs that we're offering right now, advanced and core modules, and the location to where those classes are being offered.
And if you want more specifics, my coastal restoration course is going to start on May 21st. So you have a little bit of time.
And mine is on May 25th.
Okay, and I'm going to make sure that I put in the description for this podcast the link so they can get to it easily. Lisa Hickey, Armando Ubeda, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Just a quick service announcement. The Birds of Paradise Sanctuary in Bradenton is hosting a Sanctuary Volunteer Day, Saturday, April 28th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Their mission is to be a voice for captive exotic birds and to promote unity within the avian community. They fulfill their mission by providing a safe haven for abused or unwanted exotic birds, re-socializing and rehoming eligible companion parrots, and providing educational resources to the avian community. You can learn more by visiting birdsofparadisesanctuary.org.